Welcome to Basic Brewing Video. I'm James Spencer.
I'm Steve Wilkes.
Kind of an old school recipe today.
Yeah.
This is a porter.
Porter.
That came from the recipe development series with Chris Colby. Chris Colby and I put this recipe together. Yeah. Chris Colby of beerandgardeningjournal.com. Mm-hmm. I asked him, what do you want to do? And he said, porter. He apparently brewed porter a bunch back in the day. And he said he liked his porters roasty. And I said, well, if it's so roasty, why isn't it a stout? And he said, because I call it a porter. So unless you're submitting something to, to be judged, a beer is a beer and you call it what you want.
Well, and isn't the history or what do they call it? I don't know. Anyway, weren't they originally stout porters and then they broke it apart somehow?
Yeah.
And I know it's like about the porters and the London train porters.
Right. Yeah, we're going way back in the day we would know this stuff. Quoting when the Rheinheitsgebot happened and all that stuff. When you first get into homebrewing, you're all enthusiastic about all the history of everything, and then after a while, it's like, whatever. It's just beer. And I actually used chemicals on this one. Actually, I had my water tested by Ward Labs, and then fed those numbers into my brewing software, and then this is apparently the chemical additions that you're supposed to have for this style of beer. Mm-hmm. I usually don't do that, but usually I'm brewing hoppy beers, and our water is pretty good for hoppy beers. Mm-hmm. This time I decided to mess with the water a bit.
Mess with water.
Okay, so it started with 8 gallons or 30 liters of filtered water, tap water, at 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 65 C. Into that I added 8 pounds or 3.6 kilograms of Maris Otter, of course, 1 pound or 450 grams of 60 Lovibond caramel malt, 8 ounces or 227 grams of black malt or black patent, 5 ounces or 142 grams of chocolate malt, that's 350 Lovibond, 3 ounces or 85 grams of roasted barley, that's 300 Lovibond. I rested that at 150 degrees Fahrenheit or 65 C for 90 minutes. At the beginning of a 60-minute boil, I added 3 ounces or 85 grams of Czech Sots at 2.2% alpha acid. And then at flame out, 1 ounce or 20 grams of Huel melon at 6.2% alpha acid. Yeah, I know. That's a good reaction.
Very unexpected.
Yes. I pitched at around 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 20 C 809 pub from Imperial. The original gravity 1046, final gravity 1011 for an ABV of 4.6% and 156 calories, according to my calculator that I use.
Neat.
So yeah, you were right to go on the Huel melon, but Chris wanted this beer, in addition to the roastiness, to have a little bit of fruitiness. And so the Huel melon is known to be, it's a German hop, I believe. No, we didn't cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers,
bad luck.
It's a beautiful dark beer. Look how dark that is. It's just really nice.
Yeah, no kidding. No, it's very good. And not a stout.
Oh.
That's a very easy to drink libation. Mm-hmm. There's nothing challenging about this at all.
I forget about porters. Porter is kind of a style that has been pushed to the side. When we first got into home brewing, we brewed porters because it was like, there weren't that many around.
It was exotic. And
Anchor had a porter.
Yeah. Breckenridge.
And so, you could get some porters every now and then, but it was a style that you could brew and really get something, even with an extract beer, you could brew something that tasted really good. Mm-hmm. This tastes really good, and I'm now happy. Now I'm happy. I've got a whole keg of it.
Everything is there. The chocolate's there. The little roastiness is there, but it's so quiet. It's not nothing just goes. That's like I don't know. Pick your stout, but they're they're more roasty, they're more chocolatey, they're just more.
Right.
This is very. If you had said what style is this, Steve, and you've not told me anything about it, I would have said it was an English mild.
Oh, I could see that.
It's that soft, it's that quiet of a beer.
It's
now,
probably
it might be a little more chocolatey and all that. But
4.6 is probably in the range for.
yeah, I think it is. I think generally they're like somewhere between 2% and 4%, and you can still call it a mild. But we're not talking about milds; we're talking about porters. And this is in my opinion, a great example of it. I've had a number of commercial ones, and of course, I've brewed more porters than I probably should have.
There's a legal limit.
There's a legal limit. This is not. So I'm recalling that. So I did the. Dang it! What did I call that beer? War Eagle Porter.
Oh, okay.
My kit that I sold.
It was a kit, yeah.
Yeah, it was a kit. And my recipe, mine was hoppier than this. That's what I remember. I'm remembering hops today.
Speaking of hops, do you taste any fruitiness from that Huel melon?
Maybe, but if I do, I can't.
I think if it's in there, it's lost.
It's kind of lost. I mean, the beer is a little bit. The beer is fruity, but I don't get that's from the hop.
Right.
I don't get
right.
Kind of like if you drink like a Chinook pale ale, like that's Chinook. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I don't get that, but.
And there's no like melon or there's nothing. No. There's nothing that is off from the style that detracts from the style. It's not like a stunt beer where you're just like, oh, this porter's got some fruit in it. No. It's just a nicely quaffable.
Yeah, it really is.
You can't read that, so. I
can't get it in focus.
I have a secret
here.
code. It's English in my hand. What are your questions? I can answer your questions
well,
if you have any.
I was actually looking for the bitterness.
Oh, well, it's got 3 ounces of Czech Saaz, but only because it was
2.2.
Usually the Czech Saaz that I get is higher than that, so it would have been 2, but since it was only 2.2% AB or alpha acid, I bumped it up. I can't remember. It seems like the IBUs were somewhere around like 40, maybe less. I can't remember. Listen to the episode of Basic Brewing Radio where Chris and I formulated this recipe. And you should anyway. You should listen to Basic Brewing Radio, especially lately. We're doing all these recipe development shows, and we're really, if you're curious about how to formulate your own recipes, we start from scratch. We don't come with, sometimes we have some ideas of what we want to put in it, but it's a collaborative effort between Matt Giovanisi or Chris Colby and I. And now we did a recent one with Adam Ross from Twins Band Brewing. So it's fun to start from scratch and say, what do we want this beer to be? What are the components that are important in this beer? And you start with the base malt. You do your specialty grains. You do your sugar additions if you have them. So we're actually building beers from scratch on tape.
Neat.
Tape.
Tape.
I'm old.
You're really old.
I was in radio. I actually used to cut tape with a razor blade.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Hey, matey. We had a pelican. We would speak into a pelican, and he would just talk to everybody. Like at the Flintstones. Okay.
Yeah.
I've had 2 beers on an empty, or what, the equivalent of 1 beer on an empty stomach.
Was it you that had the reel come off and like roll down the?
I witnessed it.
You witnessed it? Okay. I was trying to remember if that happened to me or happened to you. I
was in the other room. I heard the thumping noise, and then I looked out the door, and a reel was rolling past the door, trailing the tape behind it. All right.
Those are the days.
Enough of old men reminiscing about radio.
This is a good example of the style, and it's an absolutely delicious beer. And I like how persistent the head is, which is nice. I mean, you pour a really good, tasty beer, and you kind of visually want that. Because when there's none, it's like, oh, my beer's flat. It may not be flat.
Well, it's not flat. It's not ready yet.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, yay,
woohoo! All right, go back in time and brew this beer. You won't be.
Yeah. And you do need both episodes. You need the audio and this video for
a companion piece.
The complete package.
was my nickname in high school.
Complete package.
The unopened package. But there you go.
There you go.
All right. Cheers, everybody. Happy brewing. Come and visit us online at basicbrewing.com. You can find archive lists of our audio and video podcasts on homebrewing. You can also find our DVDs and our brewer's logbook, where you can track and log up to 50 batches of beer.
Hello.
You need some scrubbing bubbles.
Matinee ladies.
All right.
Okay.